5:6 says, "For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey."
Yes.
Again, "For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land, which he would give us, a land that floweth with milk and honey." That floweth with milk and honey. I want to just for a subject, just to kind of maintain this thought, my subject would be 40 more years a slave.
My God.
40 more years a slave. 40 more years a slave. Not 12 years, but 40 more years a slave. Here you have slaves who have been brought out of Egypt, where they were for about 400 years in slavery. After being brought out of Egypt by Moses, who God used to free them, to help secure their freedom, here they are for 40 years wandering in a wilderness, because they still had the slave mind. Technically, they still wandered because they could not change their mind. Even though they are freed, they came out well, they came out of Egypt with riches, they came out of Egypt with things that they did not go in, nor did they have while they were there. People gave them things to just get them out. Just get them out. Just get out. Go. God had already promised them a land. This was not supposed to take barely 40 days. But they wandered for 40 years because many of them still had what I call a slave mind. They wandered for 40 years until the slave mind died out. They had to wander for 40 years because the slave mind had to die out. My spiritual mandate as a man of God, I believe, is shifting, probably has always been, but is becoming more and more clear, that my job is not to make you better slaves.
My God.
Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
I have concluded that I am not here to make you better slaves. After watching the Nat Turner movie, seeing how, as a preacher, he was brought in to preach the Word of God. This Word that I hold, this Word that we have. He was brought in to preach to the slaves. Why? So that they would be better slaves. Somebody say better slaves.
Better slaves.
And you got to understand, this is neither black nor white right now. This is in general. And I believe God has called me to make sure that the people of God know that my job is not to preach a word that makes you good little slaves. Be a better slave. I bet some of us are happy, especially in church, because not that we're slaves, but we're just better slaves. Somebody said better slaves.
Better slaves.
Holding on, many of us, years and years after slavery, still embracing what? Slave mentality. And you say, well, no, that's impossible. It can't happen. You better read your word and see how the children of Israel wandered in a desert. Matter of fact, at one point they told Moses, we hate you brought us out. You should have left us in Egypt. At least we could have died happy. In other words, Moses brings them out, frees them, and because they don't like their conditions again, they begin to murmur and complain because they felt like they would be better off as slaves. Somebody said that's sad.
That's sad.
I'm talking Bible here, people. I'm not even talking anything other than the Word of God. Am I right about it?
Yeah.
They begin to complain. Matter of fact, God didn't even allow Moses to even go into the promised land. The person that brought him out, he was stuck with them. So much so till God had to just take Moses and hide him away and just allow him to just go off the scene with the help of God without even the people being able to see him or them go into the promised land. It became Joshua who took the people over into the promised land because he was a part of a new generation. Somebody say new generation.
New generation.
Therefore, my mentality and my concept and my idea and my mandate is that I am supposed to make sure that I at least get some people out
I got it.
and over.
Yes.
Somebody say out,
Out
and over.
and over.
So my inspiration, my muse maybe, becomes this little woman by the name of Harriet Tubman, born a slave in Dorchester County, Maryland. Tubman was beaten and whipped by her various masters. As a child, she was beaten. Early in her life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an irate slave owner threw a heavy metal object intended to hit another slave and hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain, and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. She was a devout, this is what I love, she was a devout Christian. Somebody say Christian.
Christian.
And experienced strange visions and vivid dreams which she ascribed to premonitions from God. In 1849, Tubman escaped to Philadelphia. Then immediately, what did she do? Returned to Maryland to rescue her family. Slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of the state and eventually guided dozens of other slaves to freedom, traveling by night and in extreme secrecy. Tubman, or Moses, as she is called, never lost a passenger. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide fugitives farther north into British North America and helped newly freed slaves find work. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook and nurse, and then as an armed scout and spy. The first woman to lead an armed expedition in the war. She guided the raid of Combahee Ferry, of the Combahee Ferry, which liberated more than 700 slaves. After the war, she retired to the family home on the property she had purchased in 1859 in Auburn, New York, where she cared for her aging parents. She was active in the women's suffrage movement until illness overtook her and she had to be admitted to a home for elderly African Americans that she had helped to establish years earlier. After she died in 1913, she became an icon of American courage and freedom. On April 20, 2016, the U.S. Treasury Department announced a plan for Tubman to replace Andrew Jackson as the portrait gracing the $20 bill.
Wow.
But one of the quotes ascribed to Harriet Tubman that haunts me is the quote which reads, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. Thus ended the reading of the lesson. Somebody say, if only
If only
they knew
they knew
they were slaves.
they were slaves.
Many times, why we are not experiencing, and I find it very interesting how many times in church I struggle to get many to open their minds, because many times we don't even know we've been bamboozled. We are still operating from what we can call a slave mind. Somebody say a slave mind.
Slave mind.
The Bible says that the children of Israel wandered for how many years?
40.
They wandered for 40 years in the desert. Somebody say wandered.
Wandered.
They wandered for 40 years in the desert. Why? Because many of them were kicking against the mind of freedom.
Amen.
Somebody just shout, kicking against
Kicking against
the mind of freedom.
the mind of freedom.
The Bible lets us know that he whom the Son sets free is free indeed.
Yes, yes.
Somebody say free indeed.
Free indeed.
The challenge for the church becomes that many, even though we're in the church, we are still kicking and fighting against the mind of freedom.
Yes.
As we work through this, as I work through this process, even of self-discovery and self-education and self-awareness, because of what I believe this mandate God has placed on my life to help free people, even in the church.
My God. Thank you, sir.
Help free people. And a part of my mandate already, and a part of my awareness already, is that I already know that I could have freed 1,000 more had they only known that they were slaves. And you say, this is, what are you trying to say? You're the only one that got this revelation. No, I'm one of the ones who is so aware that many times I'm operating out of a slave mind. And even as I work to get out of Egypt, my goal, though, as with Moses, is to take 1 million with me.
My God.
Amen. It's good.
Many times, and I heard somebody say their mother, I can't remember who was telling me this, said their mother used to preach a sermon that said, don't go to hell through church. And you realize that it's a sad thing that people can be in church all their lives and still miss heaven. Why? Because they won't change their mind. The Bible says that we are to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Joshua 5:6 says that the people were so disobedient. What were they disobedient about? They were disobedient about the process of change. The process of going over to a new place. Somebody say a new land. Many times people are out of slavery, and many times we think we good. It's no more of this, and we got freedom, and look at it. We can go to the same schools, we go in the same schools as this one, same schools as that one, and look at how good it is. And we don't even realize some of those things were the biggest traps that were ever set. Because many times we figure if you get a little bit of this, you got something. Once we realize we can vote, once we realize we can do this, we got it made, we're done. We don't have to fight, we don't have to do anything. But when you understand that the power of freedom requires a process, many times we don't even realize the power of how when the children of Israel finally did cross over to the promised land, that's where the real work starts. Somebody say real work starts in the promised land. Notice they didn't have to fight for 40 years. But when they crossed over the promised land, they had to fight. Notice they had free lunch in the morning, free dinner at night, free brunch in the morning, free dinner at night. But when they get over to the promised land, they got to plant their crops. They got to dig their own wells. They got to fight, even though it's in the promised land. See, many of us mistake a free lunch for the promised land. That's the wilderness, baby. Somebody say, that's the wilderness. Free lunch is not the promised land.